would like to say that I got my PhD fairly recently, about 5 years ago, and my topic was design to support transcendent experiences. Okay, so I am not a games expert, and I realized from hearing Stefano just how much I am not a games expert. But I think I know a few things, and I'm going to talk more about the social and personal aspects. So let me see if I can work this thing. I've never done Blackboard. Okay, some key aspects of games for this talk. Who is playing? What's the mood of the game? What we want players to experience, and what outcome we hope to achieve. So let's talk about who's playing. In this, there's how many people, and assuming it's more than one, where are they? What are their relationships to one another? And do they play as individuals or teams? Now, this does not include the computer pretending to be other people. So we have 1, 2, 3, or more as how many there are. Where are they? Are they remote? Are they together in person? Are they a mix of remote and together? And if in person, are they interacting face to face in addition to digitally, or are they using digital tools only and the in-person thing doesn't enter into it? What are their relationships? Strangers, friends, family, colleagues, romantic partners, multiple relationships? And do they play as individuals or in teams? And this can be important because if they're playing as individuals and there's more than one of them, then it's most likely to be competitive, although not necessarily. If they're playing in teams, then it could be a mix of competitive or collaborative. So what's the mood of playing the game? Two common moods, either you're competitive or you're cooperative. If you're competitive, you're playing against someone, and this could be against yourself. You may be playing to beat your own best score, if not defeating other players. Or cooperative, you're playing with someone and you're all trying to do interesting and fun things. Now, this is not commonly thought of. It's not nearly as common in game design as the competitive aspect, but for what I'm talking about, it's actually more important. Some games offer both moods, competitive and cooperative, and sometimes you can do the same game in either mood. So can you think of any other moods that might be appropriate to a game? Anybody got any ideas?
It's a question to you, guys. So can you think of any other moods? Gianpaolo suggests a mix of both.
Yes, could be. Okay. I can't think of anything else either. So then there's the question of what we want players to experience. Oh no, it mixed my. I had 3 columns of emotions here, and it's not showing them. So anyway, there are a lot of positive emotions that we want people to experience in the things that we develop for these purposes. And let me see if it shows the other. Nope, they're negative emotions. The negative emotions, the gamer may have experienced the ones that we think of as negative or unwanted, but could any of them be beneficial in any way? And I think Stefano alluded to this when he was talking about fooling people, that you might not like it, but it might be to your benefit. And then there are these emotions: surprise, lust, triumph, longing, competitiveness. And might they be positive? Might they be negative? Might they be both? So we have to think about what we want people to experience when we design something. Now, here's caution. We cannot design an experience. Experiences with technology have multiple components. That is the technology itself, or the artifact, as Stefano talked about, the context in which people use it, and the person who is using it. We can influence experiences, but we have a limited role in creating them. We can design the technology, and we can design it with the desired experience in mind. We can influence the context, and we might design parts of the context depending on how big an environment we have in mind to design. But in terms of the person and what they bring to the experience, we have no control over that. and the person is as an important part of the experience as the technology and the context is. So we design for experience. We design to foster an experience. But if somebody has a bad experience, it's not necessarily because of something that we did. Okay, so then there's what outcomes we hope to see. Some goals, there are organization goals of gaming, in-app purchases, paid upgrades, recommended positive reviews, on more customers, market penetration, and so on. And then there are user goals, which are have fun, develop skills, exercise the mind, blah, 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 and all kinds of things, including make and nurture friendships and belong and contribute to a community. And we may aim to have our goals support these, our games support these user goals and more. For the purposes of a transcendent experience, we're not interested in organizational goals. So this all starts with engagement. There's been a lot of work done on engagement with technology and in particular engagement with games. So do you relate to any of these aspects? Do you play a game without thinking too much about how? Do you love the way it looks? Do you tune out your surroundings and focus your attention on playing the game? Do you have fun with it? Do you always find something new in it? Do you want to play it again and again, and do you recommend it to others? Can anybody relate to these?
Yeah.
Okay, this is engagement. Engagement in games is pretty well studied by HCI research. So now beyond engagement, have you experienced any of these while performing an activity? And it may or may not be a game. So the activity is rewarding in itself. Your goals are clear. The activity has your full concentration. You lose awareness of yourself. You're in control of the activity. You merge with it and become one with it. Your emotions are muted because you're so focused on the activity. And time is distorted. You lose track of time. You find that it passes faster than you thought it was. Do any of these sound familiar about doing an activity, particularly something you love and is challenging? Okay, this is flow. Flow was developed, the idea of flow was introduced to Western culture by Mihai Csikszentmihalyi, a Hungarian psychologist, in the latter half of the 20th century. And flow is, it's centered on activity. It's usually personal and individual, and it may be shared with others when all are in flow with that activity. Flow is a dance of challenge and the activity has to be challenging to some point, but it can't overwhelm your skills. You have to feel like you're up to it. And the more you practice the activity, the greater your skills become and the greater challenge you need to enter flow. So now, human-computer interaction has studied flow for a good while. Research began more than 30 years ago. They started studying what flow looks like in interaction, how it affects performance, and how to design to support flow. And they looked at it in various contexts. Or I should say have looked at it. They're still looking at it. Work, learn, education, shopping, social networking, health and well-being, and in particular, gaming. An early study from 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago, looked at people doing face-to-face activity and people in the same room but doing computer-mediated activity. And they found that people with using computer-mediated activity had a significantly greater flow intensity. So technology can increase the sense of flow. And what flow does, one of the things that flow does, is that it helps you learn, it helps you improve your performance. It gets you to feel like you're in the groove, and so it keeps you more engaged. So have you experienced any of these while gaming? These are the aspects of flow, and in particular, I'm asking about while gaming. Have you experienced any of these? in particular, I want to know if any of them do not fit. So if any of you have any ideas of any of these attributes of flow that do not fit gaming for you, I'd like to hear about it. Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I think the answer is yes for most of the players in the room. I think it's an experience that is also easy to recognize. Not speaking for you, but I think that you are nodding most of them.
Great.
So,
Okay. Does anybody have any thoughts about any that do not fit?
so we have two students who have not experienced flow during gaming, but are you players sorry? Sometimes yes, but they are only two actually, but they
Okay.
say they haven't had this experience in gaming.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to elaborate your comment more, but you just say no. Okay.
Okay. So now, given the description of flow, can you think of any ways in which flow could support your personal growth? Any thoughts?
So again, it's a question to you. Any ways which flow could support your personal growth? So you think that this experience that Elizabeth described somehow can affect your personal growth, broadly intended?
I'll go back to the description. Any thoughts?
The feeling of what? Sorry. Sorry. Oh, the feeling of?
Maybe the feeling of achievements that
Feeling of achievement.
small achievements, the small struggle that you interfere in the flow is being able to go through the struggle, that you're enough. So the achievement give you a feeling of self-growth.
Great. Yes. Excellent.
Panajo, Basilis. Basilis wants also to comment.
Maybe to help you be more in the moment, to develop your mindfulness.
Okay, good.
Maybe it's
good
possible.
point. So focus
Yes,
on the moment, focus on the present experience. Okay, good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, let's go on. Now, on beyond flow. So let's add a sense of intense connection with something greater than yourself. Now, what might that be? What is something greater to each of us? Most people would think first of a deity. And these are images from Christian, Muslim, and Jewish buildings. But there's also the bounty of nature, the grandeur of the universe, the compassion of a humanitarian cause. Many people get chills just thinking about how much they are working with people to improve the lives of other people. Or the intimacy of a community with shared purpose. My first experience of this was in using technology to learn my part in a piece of music that I was going to sing with the choir. And it wasn't just the listening to music, it was knowing that I was going to sing it with some kindred spirits. So transcendence is a sense of connection with something greater than yourself. And it's not always the same. It takes on many forms, it comes in many flavors, and it goes by many names. An important paper about this is from 2005, and it looked at various aspects of transcendent experience and the various names of them. And it found that there are a lot of similarities in the experiences that go by these names, but they all have the connection with something greater. And in a nutshell, it transcends the ordinary. It transcends ordinary reality, ordinary worldview, ordinary sense of self, and ordinary boundaries. So here are some characteristics of the differences between flow and transcendence. A flow experience is about an activity. A transcendence, the activity is not that important, and it may not even matter at all for a transcendence. The flow experience, you have a loss of awareness of self. With a transcendent experience, you're likely to be aware of yourself and the connection that is beyond yourself. The flow experience is usually individual, although it can be experienced in community or in collaboration with other people. But the transcendent experience could be either one. The flow experience is usually long. I mean, it could be minutes, but it's not uncommon for it to be hours. You're gaming for hours, for example, and you're studying, or you're using social media for hours, and all of a sudden time has slipped away. A transcendent experience is usually short. It sometimes lasts minutes, but it's often just seconds. Flow involves fun and enjoyment mostly, and accomplishment, as someone said, achievement. Transcendence involves wonder and awe with chills and tingles, goose pimples. This is the area in which Andrea and I got to know each other, because he was one of my references for my PhD thesis with his work on awe and transformative experiences. And so hopefully we will have the chance to pursue that even further. So flow can help in improving your skills, but one of the outcomes is repetition. You want to do it again. You want to do it better. But transcendent experience is more transformation. And sometimes that is transformation in other areas of your life rather than in having the experience again. So why do we want to foster transcendent experiences? Well, people can find them deeply meaningful, even transformative. Now, I remember when this photograph of the Earth from the moon was taken, and it was just, people were just amazed that it was a completely different view of the planet that we live on. So transcendent experiences can produce an increased feeling of well-being, a change in beliefs or worldview, and this photograph certainly did, in many people, change their worldview. It can generate personal healing. It can lead to greater intimacy with other people. It can lead to spiritual development, and that may mean religious conversion, or it may mean it may involve the greater intimacy, or it may involve a greater connection with nature. It's not necessarily, spiritual and religious are not the same thing. There's a lot of study now on the use of transcendent experiences in quitting smoking and recovering from addiction. It can lead to seeing the world with new eyes, or a long-lasting sense of peace. Now my question is, how can games foster transcendent experience? And as I said, I'm not a games expert. So if you have any thoughts on this or examples from your experience, I'd love to hear about them. This is a question for you, class.
Yeah, I think this is a very intriguing question and challenging question. So I think it can be generalized asking, do you think that games provide an opportunity for, transcendence, but also in terms of self-growth as a kind of positive technology that helps you psychologically developing yourself instead of the stereotypical idea about gaming as a leisure device. So do you think that there is more in gaming in terms of experience that allows you to invest in yourself and maybe, but I think this is a very big question, also reaching higher level of your personality development, such as transcending yourself, so connected with something bigger than yourself. So do games have this potential in your opinion? I see many students nodding, so I think that the answer is yes. Okay.
Good.
Maybe
okay.
The question is how. Now, yeah, there is. comment? Sorry, Elizabeth.
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Can you bring the mic, please?
question.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think that it could be, but maybe combined between the sense of flow and the sense of transcendence, because we might assume that we can lead our players toward a sort of transformation, maybe through a path or something similar. But in order to achieve that, players need to play for long periods. So maybe flow is needed. I don't know.
Okay. So thank you for
a
your very interesting comment. And would you like to take a second comment, sorry, Elizabeth, from Professor Gualeni this time?
Yes, please.
Please.
Yes.
I just want to comment that I'm enjoying this presentation, and maybe I have some ideas about that. As a matter of fact, I recently wrote a book called Virtual Existentialism that tackles the idea of transcendence through digital interactions. It is a different kind of transcendence, maybe, or in depth than what Elizabeth is talking about, but there's the idea that you can, to a degree, experience alterity and obtain critical visions towards yourself and your potential of what you could be, in a way fluidifying yourself, sense of the self, in ways that in a way mirror a little bit what she's talking about. There's obviously no trace of divinity or aspiration to divinity when working within an artifact, but there's still possibility of engendering very specific kind of self-reflections that emerge from experience, as opposed to, I mean, maybe something that your imagination cannot quite as easily conjure.
Right. So I think Stefano is now talking about a more existentially nuanced form of transcendence, more philosophical intent than psychologically, than as Elizabeth is talking. Elizabeth, so I think you have some material to.
Let's stay in touch, Stefano, and because I'd like to explore this further. But I agree with the point that it's helpful to have flow first, because you need to get into the flow, or you might get into the flow before you can experience a transcendence. Anyway, okay, so 10 years ago, I did a survey of the App Store, the iTunes App Store, and I found a lot of apps for spirituality, religion, and including transcendent. And now transcendence, as I said, is not strictly religious, but and this slide shows examples of search that I did just a few days ago. These are all games, or at least they're all described as games. I don't remember seeing a lot of games 10 years ago, but I wasn't looking for games. And so I can't really go back and do that search again, because things have moved on. But my sense is that more of these apps are being conceived of as games than was the case 10 years ago. So how might we design for transcendent experiences? And I don't want to go into a great deal of detail about your thoughts and examples. I just want to pose this question for you to think about, class. And what I did in my thesis was I used a design game. I developed a design game. I called it Transcendence, which means enhancing transcendence. And I think that design games for transcendent experience need to be collaborative, because competition could impede the purpose. That they need to be fun and pleasurable and not suspenseful, because enjoyment aids creativity. They need to be novel and different. Curiosity and surprise, things that are not quite what you're used to, can induce you to think differently. And they're aimed at producing rough ideas, not formal designs, that the detailed design can come later. And here's what my design game looked like. I ran 4 workshops where we had 4 players each. And so here are 2 of the players. They had a board game, and they moved pieces around on the board game, and they drew cards for inputs, and they selected, not on purpose, but they picked them from a deck, not knowing what they were going to be. And then from the various input, they sketched possible designs of a of a technology, not a game necessarily. I mean, I didn't say don't do a game, but I didn't require it to be a game. A technology that might support a transcendent experiences with the various aspects that the various inputs described. And then we proceeded to, or I took some of those games, some of those ideas, and created design fictions to explore the ideas. But design fiction is a complicated thing, and I'm not going to go into that here. It's a whole new topic. So that will be for another time. So these are the key points to keep in mind. We design to foster experience and not to create it, because we don't have that much control over experience that we can just create it. We start by engaging our users or players. Engagement deepens into flow, which can lead to growth, mainly in terms of skill development. And then flow deepens into transcendence, which can lead to transformation and personal growth. And when I say personal growth here, I mean psychological or spiritual or philosophical personal growth, and not skills. So the question then is, how do we design to foster transcendent experience? And that's what I want to leave you with. Thank you.